So today's little essay is called Nothing Needs to Change. And there's an idea in non-dual circles that there's nothing to do in order to become enlightened or to wake up to the truth. They say since there's no person, there's nobody to do anything, so no practices are necessary or even possible. And I have nothing against this teaching. A lot of people who talk that way are teachers I personally really love listening to. But I'm in a slightly different group. But in one sense, it's true. But in another sense, it leaves a lot of people with the feeling of being painted into a conceptual corner. After all, you might think, I would like to become enlightened or self-realized or wake up to my true nature, and I'm pretty sure that sitting around on my sofa doing nothing isn't going to cut it. So if you're having difficulty with this, there are a couple of ideas that I think might be helpful. The first is it's already here. Awareness is already present. You don't have to do anything to become aware. You already are aware, and effortlessly. You can't not be aware. So instead of trying to become aware, you simply have to notice what's already here, what's always here, what has never not been here, what has known your experience ever since you were a little kid. So it's not exactly doing nothing, it's doing something, noticing awareness. It's turning your attention from the content of awareness to awareness itself, the background of all experience, the clear field in which all of your sensations, all of your perceptions appear. Awareness becoming aware of awareness. And secondly, and this is a very similar idea, maybe instead of there's nothing to do, the phrase nothing needs to change might be more helpful. And the realization that nothing needs to change is a doing of a sort. It's noticing what's here now and noticing that awareness is already here, as I said before. It's already allowing, so you don't have to do allowing. You don't have to allow, you notice what is already allowing. It's already all-inclusive. Nothing about you, about your personality, about your ego, about your body, about your relationships, about your activities, about your interactions with the world, about your thoughts can change this simple fact. Awareness is already present, and it's already you in the deepest sense. That which notices all of your experience is you. It's what I call I. It's what I've called I all my life. It's what everything appears in, and you don't have to do anything to create it. You don't have to make it happen. But you do have to do a tiny little shift of attention to notice it. So the doing is the noticing of awareness itself. The doing is asking, what is effortless right now? The only thing in our experience that is completely effortless is experiencing itself. In other words, the knowing of experience. In other words, awareness. In other words, you. So there is something you can do, but it's not a doing that's involved in changing anything. And that's the distinction. And I do mean changing anything. Achieving a state of enlightenment or self-realization or awakening, it's all future stuff. It's all some state that we hope we're going to get to someday that we're not in now. And the truth is not in the future. The truth is now. Only now. Without changing a single thing except the simple act of noticing that this is so. That awareness is here now, already free, already allowing, already loving, already accepting, already clear and boundless. And noticing that it is the true you. And of course, awareness is a little tricky. A lot of people sometimes have a hard time noticing it because it's very hard to get over the idea that it's a thing, as opposed to a kind of a verb, a being. It is our being. And my favorite phrase to describe this is, you can't see it, you can only be it. So, onto our games and meditations and stuff. I often start by talking about RA, R-A-A, relaxing, allowing, and awareing, because when you are relaxed, everything becomes easier. So the first step is just simply, purely physical relaxation. And the second A is allowing, meaning just for now, not tomorrow, not later, not when you have something important to do, but just for now, allowing everything, including how you feel, including your emotions, including your thoughts, including your body and sensations, including the world, allowing everything just for now to be exactly as it is without the strategies that we employ to change it. And then the final is awareing. I put it that way in a verb because awareing is just turning your attention to awareness and then being awareness. It's like you turn around from the content and notice, what's the background? What's this appearing in? And then you turn around again and you look out from there. That field that is not a thing, that has no qualities, and you sort of identify with it. Know it's you. So that's RA, R-A-A. So the first step, relaxation, and there's so many ways of doing it. Today we're just going to do a really, really simple one that I just call the attention body scan. And it's really funny because attention is like a little invisible massager. When you put your attention on any part of your body, it has a tendency to start to tingle and then to relax a little bit. So we're just going to scan our body. We're going to do the attention scan. And sometimes I like to think of it as like a bar, like one of these screens that has like, but if that's too electrical for you, you can imagine just warm sunlight coming through. But imagine that your attention is, and you can probably close your eyes to do this, your attention is at the top of your head, inside, and it's just slowly working its way downward. And it's just noticing. You're just sending your attention to behind your eyes, to between your ears, to inside your cheeks, to behind your mouth, to your jaw, to your neck. And everything sort of gets loose as the attention. First it kind of tingles, and then just allow it to relax. Down through your neck and spreading out to both shoulders, feeling them tingle with your attention and relax. And as it flows down, it can flow simultaneously into your upper torso and your upper arms. Or you can do it individually if you like. Right now, your attention is in your torso, your upper torso, your heart, your upper back, your shoulders, and down each arm. You can actually send your attention down 2 arms at the same time. Down the upper arms to the elbows, down through the forearms and wrists, and each hand and the palm and the back of your hand, and each finger. A little tingly attention can move down them. And you can move your attention back up to where we left off in your torso, in your upper torso, your heart, your lungs, all your vital organs inside, and your front and your back, and down to your ribs and your belly, your lower back, and your hips, and your rear, and your front, and your thighs. Just moving the attention down, and that tingling sensation follows it, and relaxation follows that. Down each thigh, and your knees, your calves and shins and ankles, your heels, front of your feet, top of your feet, soles, arches, ball of your feet, each toe. Tingle, tingly attention. Now just take a minute on your own to notice if there's anything you missed, any spot you missed that might still be a little tense, and just send your attention there on your own. Now take 1 or 2 easy deep breaths, and at your own pace, if you want to, you can open your eyes. Or you can leave them closed. We'll listen in to the next game. Next game, actually, I'm adapting from another game because I was playing around with this the other day and I was having such a good time with it. I just wanted to share it with y'all. Richard Lang has an exercise called face to no face. And Richard Lang is a student of Douglas Harding, who developed what he called the headless way. And Richard describes this one very succinctly. He says, can you see your head? No. Can you see the world instead? Yes, you've got it. And that's his summary. But I'm going to take you through it step by step because that's a little tricky. And headlessness is the idea that we actually can't see our heads, so noticing what we see instead is a pointer to the emptiness, to the spaciousness in which all things appear. And it's not about believing you literally don't have a head. As a matter of fact, I fell into that trap when I first started studying Douglas Harding. Like, wait a minute. If I scrunch up like this, I could see my nose. That proves I have a head. And it's not about anything like belief. It's just like all of these things. It's a pointer. It's a pointer to emptiness or to the clear field. So here's my version, step by step. Open your eyes and look around you. And ask yourself, where is the eye that's looking? Most of us imagine, and for you, if it's not, go ahead and imagine that this eye is located somewhere in your head. Now look downward towards your body and notice what you see. You see a torso, a couple of arms, a pair of legs. Notice that this torso is appearing out of nothingness. After all, you can't see your own head. And notice that these arms are just sort of starting in nothingness and then coming into view. Now look again at the room around you. And notice that in your mind's eye, the world around you appears in the place of your head. You can see your torso, you can see your arms, you can see your legs. You don't see your head. What you instead see is the world around you. The world around you appears where the you is. Now imagine, just imagine, don't believe it, just imagine, play with it. Imagine that the world around you is you. And this is one that you can play with on your own. And you'll have maybe different reaction. Maybe sometimes it might work great and sometimes it might be a little esoteric, but you play with it. And if you start sensing that you are the empty place for the world to appear, fun, go with it. If not, try a different one. And if anyone has any comments, would like to, feel free to unmute or put them in the chat.
Yeah, Brian, just on whether your head really does exist or not.
Yeah.
Um, I love quantum physics. And, the collapse of the wave function. Particles, don't actually exist apart from in a probability curve until they're observed.
Yep.
And I was playing with the headless wave, kind of with that in mind, driving along. And I was driving along thinking all of this world is just coming in towards me. And I find it difficult to get that shift that he talks about.
Uh-huh.
But then I'm thinking, well, but that car's gone past me and I can see it in the rear vision mirror. So it can't be like that, right? Because it is behind me. It is there. It doesn't disappear when it's out of my vision.
Right.
And then, but I'm thinking, but actually, I'm looking at the mirror. So it is only there. And now it's disappeared.
Uh-huh.
And then it's just beautiful how that actually does fit in with science. I mean, with science, you cannot prove if you get up and walk out of that room now, according to science, it's entirely possible that that whole everything in that room disappears and it doesn't exist until you walk in and you give it your attention.
Yeah.
On a particle level, they'll say, "Oh, it doesn't apply on the big level, right? It doesn't apply at this level." But then everything's made up of particles.
That's right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, that's really great. I love that you combined the two and sort of customized it for yourself. I always love that. And it's true. I mean, and just imagine just playing around with that, you can make a game out of that. I mean, it's true that on the quantum level, everything is simply a probability wave until it's observed, and then it collapses the wave function. So it's the observation that brings something into existence. So, one of the games is, we haven't done this one before, but it's imagining that, and you can just play with it. You don't even have to believe it's true scientifically or anything. Imagine that everything you look at, you're actually making it happen. Or you can say, I'm projecting this out. You know, I'm looking around and I'm just projecting it. Or it's all a probability wave, and by looking at it, I bring it into existence because I'm collapsing the wave function. And I guess what you're saying is, if we if we don't see our head, does it really exist quantumly? Maybe not.
I just want to make a quick comment, if I
Yeah,
may.
sure.
So I love the fact that in the beginning you were talking about awareness, and it just grounded my energy so much because usually I feel very restless. And so when you were talking about awareness and how it's very different from some non-dual schools and how they say, just be here now, or there's nothing to do, just there's nothing to do. Instead, he said, there's nothing to change. And that triggered something positive for me. And that set the tone for all the other exercises because I just felt so relaxed after you said that. And your voice is soothing. So.
Oh, good. Oh, well, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, that hit me too. Like, instead of saying, "Oh, there's nothing to do," and then your mind starts to rebel, you say, "Nothing needs to change. There's nothing to," and like, we try to be allowing. Okay, I'm going to allow all the bad things that I hate to exist, and that's me trying to do something. But What if instead we notice that there's something that is already allowing, like a mirror, already allows whatever appears in it to appear. Awareness is like that, already allowing. Notice it. So you don't have this big need to change something. One of the games I have on my list is a quick game, and I've never really shared this with anybody before or really fleshed it out very much. But a lot of people come and they say, well, I'm really upset about such and such. Um, and or I just can't seem to, I'm angry at this person or that thing or anxious. And one game that you can play with this is I just call it, and this is a problem. Why? And I know that that sounds a little snotty, and you wouldn't say that to your dearest friend who comes to you with a problem and say, and this is a problem. Why? But if you play with yourself and you just keep asking that question, and this is a problem. Why? Oh, they shouldn't do this. And this is a problem. Why? Because it makes me angry. And this is a problem. Why? Because I shouldn't be angry. Oh, really? Why? Because angry doesn't feel good. And I don't like to feel bad. And this is a problem. Why? And it's kind of tricky, I think. But if you get the hang of it, you'll start saying, wait a minute. I'm making what's happening a problem because of my story about it, not because of my direct experience about it. So if I have an emotion, I forget that an emotion is actually a chemical reaction happening in the body, maybe adrenaline or some other uh, chemical or what do they call it, hormones or um, what are the things that go back and forth between synapses? I forget. Uh, and usually the reason we suffer is because we have this story that it shouldn't be. And if we just keep saying, well, why shouldn't it be? Then eventually we might be able to come to, it's all right for it to be. If you just look at it as pure sensation without a label or a concept or a story. Anyway, this was just an experiment. Thank you for humoring me. I haven't worked this one out yet. I don't think it's there. I think this is a half-baked one, but I just thought I'd try it out. Maybe it would work better like in a dialogue with someone. But one thing about awareness is that, especially if you're just starting out, um, you want to get a hang of awareness. You can actually play with awareness. Like, let's say you have like a squishy toy, like, one of those toys that you can squeeze in one end and it comes out the other, and you can squeeze this end and it moves, or you can bounce it or do whatever. And so this is called expanding and contracting awareness. And this is just an aid to put your attention on awareness. And so basically, you want to contract your awareness down to one thing, like a toe, your big toe, your right big toe. And then you expand it to include more of what you're aware of, your foot, your knee, your body, the world. And you can just play around with it. How small can you contract it? How large can you expand it? How much can you include in awareness? Your thoughts, your body, your feelings, your sensations, your perceptions, the world around the room, the world outside the window, the rest of the world in your imagination, the universe. And then you can just bring it down to your computer keyboard. And then you can expand it again. And you can play around with it. See how fast it can grow, see how quickly it can contract. And I guess we usually think of expanded awareness. We have this phrase expanded awareness as some sort of vague, mystical, new age thing. But I'm just talking about really expanding and contracting. In other words, including more of what's in awareness. Now, of course, this is just a metaphor because true awareness that we're talking about is already fully expanded, infinite, clear, wide open, everything appears in it. But if you're not used to turning your attention to awareness, this is a good first step, just to play with, right? What if only one thing was in awareness? What if everything is in awareness? So it's just playing with awareness as if it was a toy that you experiment with.
The one and the many appear in the one awareness, though.
Right. It's absolutely right. That's why this is sort of like a half step. This is sort of like to get you started. If somebody's new to awareness, you can play around with. But you're right. The real one awareness doesn't have a second. It isn't awareness and everything else.
And
Is that what you meant?
right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that would be, actually, I probably should, I think everybody's here is pretty advanced that you probably don't need those sort of beginner steps because playing around with
Oh,
that awareness is everything is really where it's at.
I think those beginner steps help though, because I can't get a sense of just being one awareness. So it does help for me to have that step.
Yeah.
I can't quite step into there's only one awareness and nothing else.
Yeah. I couldn't either. And that's why, like, for instance, I had a 3-step thing where I would start with the content of awareness because that's what's here. And you take an inventory. Okay, what's in awareness? The sounds, my body sensations, everything I see. You just start with that. And it grounds you in the here and now. And then you start stepping back. Okay, do these sounds appear in a silent field of awareness? Yeah. Do my body sensations appear in awareness? Is that field of awareness in which my body sensations appear the same field of awareness as the sounds? In other words, I'm aware of the sounds and the body at the same time. It's all the same awareness. And so it's just another little step back. And then another little step back is saying, well, what is aware? What is this awareness? What is doing the awareing? And I is usually the answer that people will come up with. I am aware. What's this I? Is it a thing I can point to? And if it's a thing I can point to, what's aware of that? Ah, pure groundless being. Aha. That's a nice concept. Who notices pure groundless being? And you just sort of go back and back and back, step by step. Another quick game that has to do with who we take ourselves to be is the your name game. Because when we say, who am I? I'm I'm Brian. I mean, that's the first thing is your name, and the name has attached to it all of these concepts. It's like a little constellation or a solar system with your name at the center and all these planets revolving around it to have how your body looks and feels, what your personality is, what your profession is, who your relationships are with, what your talents are, where you live, all of this stuff, all revolve around this name. And so there's a quick game that you can play, and you just imagine that your parents haven't given you a name yet. Your little kid, your little baby. Who are you? Or imagine they did give you a name, but they didn't tell you what it was yet. Does that have anything to do with you? Are you the same with or without a name? What if I had no name? And there's another game that Jonathan, my podcast host, co-host, partner, really loves this one. I call it I am dot dot dot. And it's basically very, very similar, but just approached from a slightly different angle. Um, you visualize the words I am dot dot dot, and you think of an end to the sentence, and you're visualizing it being written on a screen or a whiteboard. I am Joe. I am a doctor, whatever. And for each one that you can think of, you imagine I am dot 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 a husband, and imagine backspacing or erasing back through the husband part until you just have I am dot dot dot. I am a woman. Erase the woman part and just leave I am dot dot dot. It could be typing on a computer screen or just writing it and erasing it. Try it out for a little bit on your own. get a sense that I am without a follow-up, without a concept, that sort of wordless sense of being, I am. That's your beingness. That's awareness. It's the same. I.
That, that awareness is without any attributes.
You broke up after without any, it's without any what?
Attributes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it has no attributes because anything that you could name as an attribute is something that is known by awareness. It has no
This makes
qualities.
sense when the Hindus, it
Yeah, go
can't
ahead.
be cut, it can't be dried, it can't be heated, it can't be wet, it can't be cold, it can't be cut,
Yep, that's so good. Like the
but
knife
it
that
can be
can't cut
talked about.
itself. Yeah, it can be
Yeah.
talked about as long as you know that it's not going to be exactly true, whatever you say about it. But yeah, you're right.
That brings up a little bit of fear.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
What is that about, you think?
Well, there'd be a loss of me, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just the experience of like, oh my God, this is, you know,
Well, all of a sudden you're in a place without a center, or there isn't something to hold on to. You're free floating.
and it's sure easy to ignore most of the day.
Yeah, yeah, sure is. All of that other stuff wants our attention. But when you get in the habit of noticing it pretty often, you can notice it in a couple of seconds throughout your day. And then, like in the middle of doing something, like writing an email, you can pause, notice the awareness in which you, the writing, and the email all appear, and then continue on with writing the email. Or a feeling comes up, fear, anxiety, anger comes up. Pause for a second, notice in what does this fear and anxiety
Yeah,
appear.
that's right. That's right. You're starting to hold on to subtler and subtler identifications.
Yeah,
You know, I'm afraid, you know.
right. Yeah, yeah. It almost sounds like a self-definition. I am afraid.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Stuart
Instead
Schwartz
of
has
that
it.
appearing in the awareness as well.
Yeah, yeah. Stuart Schwartz, one of my teachers, always said, "Fear is here. Take a breath." As opposed to "I am afraid." Fear is present. Take a breath. But the other thing
Thank
is
you.
that people often are. Oh, you're very welcome. A very good friend of mine. This scares him because he feels he's going to lose himself, and he really likes himself, and he doesn't want to all of a sudden have himself disappear. And I was thinking about that, and I really know what he feels, but I don't think he needs to be afraid, because what happens instead, I believe, of that you disappearing is instead your strong identification with it relaxes, so that this character, we'll just call it Brian for the sake, or Tim, um, becomes like your favorite character in a movie or a novel, or a famous celebrity, or person that you really admire. they're there. You can enjoy their characteristics and their traits and their likes and their dislikes and their talents. You can love them. You can nurture them, but they're not the real you. They're just this fabulous person, this wonderful human, talented and flawed person that you love and sometimes are annoyed with, and it's just there. But the real you is just that thing that's just okay with that character being the way he is.
Yeah, a friend of mine calls the person the family dog. He's just okay.
Yeah, yeah, the family dog. I love it. Paul Hederman calls it the action figure.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And oh, so yeah, there's a lot of the yeah.
Brother Donkey. Wasn't that
I haven't heard that one. I like it.
Francis of Assisi?
Really?
Yeah, it's Francis or one of those saints of some kind. If you Google Brother Donkey, so when something would come up, he'd say, the donkey wants to eat or the donkey's tired.
I love that.
Yeah.
I used to have a boss that I worked for at lunchtime.
I just heard it recently.
Time to feed the beast. Brother Donkey, St.
Right?
Francis. Yes, absolutely. Not only that, but
Yeah,
Swami Kriyananda has a whole
I don't
comment
know.
on St. Francis. No,
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
I
love
just
that
heard
guy.
that recently from something.
Love it.
Get the tail on the donkey. Try and find the donkey.
Yeah. Pin the tail on the U.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
The there's another one that I sometimes play with. I just call it the I slide. And I guess I got the idea because the letter I is this big, long, it's like a barge, it's this long thing, and it reminded me of a slide, like a children's slide that you slide down. And so sometimes I just play the I slide, and I just think the thought, I. And you imagine that it's a slide that starts in the front of your brain and goes down and back and within yourself, and it ends who knows where. Just slide down that eye, slide back and deep into the source of it all. Uh, if there's any other questions, be happy to entertain them. If not, I have a little bit of a longer meditation that's actually just an elaboration of what I was talking about before, that walking back process. So I call this a three-step walk back. So I'll just guide you through this. It's just a little bit longer than a game. So why don't we close our eyes for a bit and take a couple of easy deep breaths and relax. And you first start with the content of awareness. So without attempting to change anything that's arising, you take an inventory of everything that appears right now in this moment. Sounds, body sensations, even thoughts or emotions. Your eyes are closed. Maybe there's sort of shapes dancing in the blackness in front of your eyes. It's all what's appearing in awareness right now. You're making absolutely no attempt whatsoever to change anything, even if it's a thought that's taking you somewhere else. It's appearing in awareness. It's what's happening now. And second, ask yourself, what are all these appearing in? For example, what is the silence that sounds appear in? What is the empty field that sensations appear in? What's the blank screen that thoughts are written on, or the blank page that thoughts are written on? What is this awareness that everything appears in? Does it have any qualities of its own? Or do all qualities appear in it? Has it been there all my life? Does it have any limits? Or could anything appear in it? Big or small? What is its nature? What's it like? Just look. And third, ask yourself, what is aware? And if the answer you come up with is, I'm experiencing all these things, all these experiences are appearing to me, then ask yourself, what is this me? Is it my body? Well, maybe. But I notice that I have a body. I can experience my body. Who experiences it? Is it my thoughts? Maybe, but who experiences my thoughts? Or what do my thoughts appear in? Or when that voice in my head is talking, who's it talking to? Is it my personality? Well, maybe, but who has a personality? Can't I notice my personality? What is this I that notices it? Who or what is doing the noticing? Who or what is doing the awareing? And know that whatever answer you come up with is a concept that can be known. Known by what? I awareness. That nameless, formless, qualityless, choiceless, attributeless, empty, clear, allowing, infinite, free, loving field of pure awareness. Be it. Just be. And notice that this journey that we take, that we just took, these steps back, are the opposite direction of where we usually look for happiness. We usually look out there in what needs to be changed, in what's missing, in what we can get, in what we can achieve, and what we can become. But when you start getting into the habit of just turning that around, 3 little steps. What's in awareness now? What is awareness? What is aware? At first you practice by going through them and taking your time and really asking the questions until you get that sense of beingness, that you're just being awareness, knowingly that you just are that in which everything appears. And you do that for, take a while, and then the next time, maybe it takes a little less time. And then maybe the next time it takes a little less time. And you try it when you're relaxed and calm and have nothing to do. And then maybe try it at a time when you're maybe a little less relaxed. And gradually work up until pretty soon you have tread a well-worn path from the content of awareness back to awareness itself, your true nature. And you can zip down that path anytime you want in a second. And the reason it is the source of happiness, as opposed to the stuff out there, is that, as we said at the beginning, it's already allowing. It's already okay with what appears. Like a mirror doesn't decide what to reflect, it simply reflects whatever is in front of it. It is completely and utterly resistance free already, with no idea that anything that appears needs to change. And this is unconditional love. And unconditional love is happiness. And there is this thing that's not really a thing, that is deep within you, that is the true you. So that love and happiness aren't things you need to find or achieve or get. You just need to notice that they are who you are. They are your true nature. Now, take a couple of easy, deep breaths and at your own pace, whenever you feel like. Open your eyes, unless they're already open. How's everybody doing? Good. Hmm. Anybody have any questions or reactions or anything they'd like to share? Sure, Tim.
You know, the exercise of looking and going within for awareness and the source of awareness seems to me a movement. And in normal identification, I guess, you're going outward into the world. But from the standpoint of awareness, there's no movement. Its presence is in the seeming outward identification and the inward movement. So I don't know if I can say that that movement is real.
Yeah, I don't know if you can either. It seems to me that, yeah, but what do you mean by real?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking for the source of awareness, a going within process. And in normal object subject identification, I'm going out into the world. Awareness doesn't go away because I go out into the world, and awareness doesn't come to me because I go into awareness. But there's this seeming movement that I'm trying to affect to grasp awareness.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see awareness in the outer world because I'm identified, and now I'm seeking to get it, but it hasn't gone anywhere.
Right.
It's not attainable. It's not.
Right.
I'm trying to make it an object. I'm trying to grasp it.
That's
as
right.
I grasp objects.
That's right. And you've hit upon the central paradox of what we talk about. Absolutely. We it's like there's something there that's effortless. And you're right. Awareness doesn't move. All movement appears in awareness. Awareness doesn't move. Things that happen and change and go up, awareness is completely, totally unaffected by it. So you're right. Awareness isn't moving. But we don't notice it. And the movement is simply a pointer to help us notice it. And it's sort of like, so it's really the only thing that's moving is our attention to awareness itself. But the paradox is that when we really go all the way, we notice that it isn't even us that's noticing awareness. It's awareness itself that's noticing it. And so awareness is awareness. It's so hard to put into words. But you're I think you're on the right track as long as you don't worry too much about whether you understand it intellectually, but really step back and try and be it experientially. But I
Is this
couldn't
what's
argue with anything
meant?
you say.
And I've read. What's that?
I said I couldn't argue with anything you say. But you go ahead.
Oh, well, oh,
It's all
yeah,
true.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
Is this what's understood when they say there's no difference between inside and outside?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That goes into the whole area of that all is awareness. In other words, there is nothing that exists that doesn't appear in awareness. All is
I
awareness. So,
mentioned to Wayne Liquor.
yeah. What did he say?
I'm sorry. I mentioned to Wayne Lickerman one of his things, and I go, well, is it that the puppet gets to see his strings? And he went, it's all aware consciousness.
Yeah, Wayne Lickerman usually starts his talks by saying, consciousness is all there is. Yeah.
Am I on the same track here with that?
I think you're talking about the same thing. I mean, ultimately, the trick is it's not about really understanding it philosophically. It's about playing with the idea that, oh, what if there was only absolutely one thing going on, just energy waving in various temporary forms, just one thing. That means that what is looking out through my eyes is the universe looking out through my eyes. That means there really isn't a difference. If the universe is what's looking and the universe is being what's looked at, then there is no difference between inside and outside. And that's non-duality. But the the thinking mind has a real hard time grasping it because all it knows are distinctions between things because that's its job. Poison, food, danger, safety.
I'm
In,
sorry, Brian. And Tim, I want to say I second what Brian is saying. I feel like this is just my feeling. I think you're trying to grasp it, and it's like intellectual fluff. I mean, not to offend anyone, but there's a lot of intellectual, cerebral stuff going on, and I think Brian and I've been experiencing just sensing the awareness and just functioning from the heart and not the mind. If that makes sense. So just trying to just do the exercise and feeling it and sensing it instead of using um, things to describe what can't be described.
it's true that it has to be experiential, but you do have to start with where you are. And if these are the questions you have, then these are the questions you have, and you got to start with them.
Well, I'm describing what I'm experiencing.
Ah, right.
Mhm.
I got the sense that
Yeah,
you were.
and it comes across, as words, and I'm good with words.
You're good enough.
So I find I was experimenting with like I was getting some back pain during
Mm-hmm.
and I was trying to be the awareness, just witnessing the back pain, and it was an interesting little dance because I did find myself, um, it's like, well, I'm experiencing pain, and then I was trying to just, and I play with this, in trying to bring this awareness because I definitely taste it and I definitely have this sense of I've done, Muji's Invitation to Freedom and Course of Miracles and all, I've been playing with this stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
And and I'm really trying to bring it more into how I walk through life. So when I'm triggered or when I'm angry or when something's happening, like, can I step back and witness that instead of being identified with it? And I'm still struggling with that. I feel like emotions, and I'll just look and I'll be like, okay, my chest is getting tense, and my, just sort of witnessing what's being experienced. And then I still find myself, like, even just now with the back pain, I was starting to feel, a lot of times, interestingly enough, when I read the course, I'll tears will start to come out. I'll start to get, and like Tim, when you said, fear arises, sometimes that happens with me too. Um, and I think it's like my ego somehow not wanting to let go. But then I get into my brain. It's like, okay, stop. Me.
I know what you mean.
Just relax. Just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all being witnessed. It's like,
All being witness. But yeah, it's all being, and then be that witness, or that, what's already here that's already allowing this. And but the thing is, you got to start with the easy stuff. You got to start with a mild ache before you can really tackle the severe back pains. You got to start with a little slight annoyance. Okay, I'm annoyed. What does that feel like? What and what is that? What's that appearing in? And then be that in which it appears. Just a mild annoyance, and you do it for the easy stuff, and gradually you move to the harder stuff. And when it's really severe pain, and pain is nagging at you, pain is saying, pay attention to me. And sometimes you can really dive into the pain. You can look at it, you can sense it, you can feel, where is it in my body? If it had a color, what color would it be? And you can play around with that so that it becomes abstract sensation without a story around it. Because the worst thing about it is usually the story that says it shouldn't be here. And so pain is pain, but suffering is suffering. And they say pain is unavoidable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is the idea that what is arising shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be having this pain. Now, I don't like pain. I've had injuries, I've had surgeries, and it stinks. And it isn't easy to deal with pain. And all of these things help, but you have to also, at the same time, give yourself credit for not being perfect about it. Because sometimes what you really need to do is just give yourself some distraction. Like sometimes if the pain is so bad, I'll just play a I'll just play a game on my phone, and that's not very spiritual. But sometimes distraction, or have a conversation with a friend and tell them about it, or sometimes that's what's needed. And then the more you practice being awareness and asking what the sensation appears in with the easy stuff, and gradually the harder and harder stuff, you'll be able to deal with the pain. Does that make any sense?
sure, yeah. It's I mean, I've been playing with this stuff for many, many years now,
Yeah.
and uh, yeah. And course talks about that, beingness as your true, as God created you.
Uh-huh.
The being one with God, being divine, infinite love and light, and that we're all part of that same same field. And that's the other part that I'm playing with is if I'm that, then every single person out there is also that. And but yet getting that connection of, well, their that is the same as my that, like we're not two separate people talking. And that's also an experiential leap
Yeah,
to
it
make.
is. It is.
An experience I yearn for, but
Well, you can play around with it with your imagination. I mean, it's like, sure, your two brains aren't necessarily experiencing the same thing, but imagine that those, like, imagine one brain is a little Mars robot roving around Mars, sending stuff back to mission control, and you're another robot wandering around Mars, taking pictures of stuff, sending it back to mission control. What if you're not the Mars rover? What if you're mission control? What if you've got every screen of every Mars rover in the universe in front of you and you're just witnessing all of it? So there are little ways to play around with the idea of what it would be like to be the universe, but not confuse the I that's the universe with the I that's the individual brain, the individual mind that doesn't necessarily know individual minds. It's like, this finger can feel something different from this finger, and they might not know what the other is feeling, but the whole hand and the whole arm and the whole me knows what's happening on both fingers.
yep.
Anyway, I think it's probably time. Um, yeah, I think we have to go. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's so great to see you all. I usually do this every 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not sure whether I can do it in 3 weeks. I will look at my calendar. If not, it'll be 4. But I'll put it up on Meetup. We'll do it again. And feel free to message me through Meetup if you have any questions or want to talk or whatever. And it's great to see you. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, Brian.
It was really
Thanks.
great.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Anytime.
Such a good teacher. You're very clear.
Oh, good, good. I got a new light. One of those
I
ring.
don't mean the way things look. I mean the way you teach, the way you.
Oh. I thought you were talking about the tech stuff. Thank you. Yes. Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, you're great. That's true. I noticed something too about the light too, but I was talking about. Oh, yeah. No, you're very, very precise and concise and clear. And I never thought of you as a professor until tonight. Suddenly, oh, yeah.
Well, every time, all through my life, anytime I learned something, I always imagine, now, what if I had to teach this to somebody else?
Oh,
I mean, ever since I was a kid, I was like that. So,
you were preparing yourself, weren't
yeah.
you? It's great to see you.
You too. Thanks for coming.
Mm.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you all next time.